Hey ladies, this is UnderWired. Welcome to the show designed to uplift and support women all over the world.
Hey, I'm Lindsay. They call me the kindest kahuna and the imaginal connector. I love puppies, travel, great coffee, and all of you out there who love humanity.
I'm Betsy Wiersma, a serial entrepreneur and lover of doing good and having fun. My passion is connecting hearts and souls with art, ideas, and adventures.
Hey, I'm Shay Sparks. As an energetic catalyst and fearless communicator, I love to have great conversations with amazing people.
And I'm Sunny, mom of four, here to shed light on what really matters. Together, we're UnderWired. And now for the show.
I just wanna love you.
Hey, everybody!
Awesome.
So good to be back.
Yes. Live UnderWired. We love
Welcome
live.
back.
Love it.
Yes. Welcome to UnderWired. If you're brand new to our show, we love seeing new faces, having you guys here. And if you guys are repeat, you're awesome. We love having great conversations and lifting you guys up and just having a good time in the process. We've got lots of great segments for you today, including our Outside the Box. We are going way outside the box. We've got our Wow segment, a lot of good content for you. And our goal for this next hour is just to have some fun and to make your day a little bit brighter. And today's topic, the way we're going to do this, is through dating. So today we're talking all about dating. I'm sure some really funny stories are going to be shared. And we have a couple of people who are married, so we're dating our spouses. And we have a couple people that might be available, might be going out there and doing things with other people. So we've got a lot of different viewpoints for you today. But ladies, to kick off today's show, I wanted to ask you guys a question. And that is, we're all women, of course, on today's show. And I want to know if you have ever asked anyone out on a date, or are you a little bit more, traditional, let's just say, and wait for someone to ask you out on a date? So let's see, Shay, let's start with you. I feel like we always talk to you about dating stuff. So
I wonder why. Why do we talk to the single and beautiful and available Shay? Go ahead.
Well, and I'm actively dating, so that's
shameless plug.
Yes.
That was a shameless Shay plug right there.
Thank you, Betsy. I love that I have a group to promote me.
Yes.
So I have asked lots of guys out. In fact, on one of the dating sites, it's called Bumble. The women have to respond first and start the conversation going. And so it seems like these days, if it doesn't go in that direction, then I just jump to it like, hey, let's meet for coffee. Now, with that being said, I actually prefer if they ask me out, if they pursue me. That just shows me that they're a little bit more interested and they're putting more effort into it, which again, I guess is completely new and profound these days, effort and pursuing. But I have asked plenty
now,
out.
Shay, okay, follow-up question with that. Is it typical now for people to do like a little mini date, like let's meet for coffee or a drink before committing to like multiple hours?
Ask the old married woman. I'm just adding that in there. Ask the old married woman who does not know, and neither do I. I've never bumbled.
Not in that way.
Rumbled or bumbled or all of the above. So tell us, Shay, how does it work? Just in case.
Well, the first one is called a meeting. So the meeting is a coffee or a wine or, go to have a drink in order to see if there's the second meeting, which would be the first date. It's constantly changing. But this is the new world, is that it's definitely a meet and greet first and then move on. And honestly, there's a lot of people who are into the, jumping into the next level of commitment of, sex right away. I'm just going to be transparent. So that first meeting is literally what people are looking for in that world. Like, let's just meet for coffee and drinks and then jump in bed. And I'm like, that's not my thing. If that's yours, that's great. Good for you.
Look how old I am. I am so old and prunish. Go ahead.
But I had one guy tell me that that's what he was looking for, and then he would be willing to meet for drinks, but never dinner. And I was like, wow, okay.
Wow.
Good thing I'm not looking for that, but okay.
But Shay, I have a follow-up question. You've never met anyone like on a beach for coffee or gone to them as perhaps a service, though, right?
Yes, I have. In fact, just recently,
insider information. Sorry.
Yeah, one of my friends who just happens to be a chiropractor, and I became one of his patients. Again, we were friends before. I said, hey, let's meet for coffee, because a lot had been going on in his life, a lot had been going on in mine, and so we met for coffee on the beach this last weekend, actually. And it's just friends. I wish we would go more, but there's also a big age difference, and that's something else we could talk about at some point. But you never know.
Hey, you got to throw it out there. Right?
Exactly.
So glad
Sorry.
you did.
Yeah,
Okay.
I set you up for that one.
All right. So, Betsy, when you were asking people out, when you were dating, I shouldn't say when you were asking people out, were you asking people out on dates, or did you just take a more passive approach?
Well, ladies, thank you for giving me the entire hour to answer this question. It all began when my 7-year-old marriage to the wrong person ended. And so I hadn't dated. Like, I married the guy that I was an intern with after college, right? So when I was divorced, and I didn't even really know, it was a smorgasbord. And I really, you could check my diary records. I wrote them down. I just sampled the menu a lot in kind of a haphazard way. So I don't know if it was dating or it was trying to build my self-esteem after my divorce or whatever. But that would be an R-rated show we could discuss at a different time. UnderWired raw. But my husband and my first date, I helped him at a halftime show as a volunteer in Miami Beach, Florida, for a kids' halftime where he was choreographing the production, and I helped with the volunteers. So I volunteered to go to Miami Beach, Florida. And I said, as long as you take me out on New Year's Eve, I'll volunteer and help you. And the rest is rock and roll love history. No. So I think, I was interested in helping him as a friend because he was a longtime friend. I didn't really know he was my love interest until he kissed me at midnight, in the club with Madonna. Long story again. We'll go back there later. So yeah, non-traditional.
Non-traditional. Okay. And Lindsay, first of all, Lindsay, would you say that you're dating? I mean, you're single, but are you dating?
No, I really hate this topic. We're going to have a fun show today. So I am single at the moment, and I definitely just do not like the whole dating process. I want to answer your question directly, though. I have asked people out on dates, officially saying, I would like to see where this could go. And had some really interesting and fun stories to tell. Probably not as cool as Betsy's, but definitely interesting and fun. And the answer is I'm still single. So what does that say? Just, maybe not the right ones to ask at the time. But yes, I have done it.
You never know.
You never know. But I'm more like Shay. I'd rather have them find me. If somebody's really interested in me, they'll find me.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. I've asked a couple guys out on dates, and I did it because I thought I had to do it. Like, if I didn't make a move, nothing was going to happen. I would try to leave. Right. One of them, you guys, is my husband.
Right.
And there's another happily ever after. Okay. So that was fun, guys. Let's go ahead and dive into our first segment. We have our B word today. And today for dating, we're actually talking about binge dating. Now, if you look this up online, because I did, there's some crazy things like what they think binge dating is. So let me first define what I think binge dating is and how we're going to talk about it today. That is someone that dates multiple people at one time. Like, it is almost a job, okay? They're looking for someone, they find someone, and then whatever they want to do with the relationship at that point. But so there's binge dating, which I never quite understood. So growing up, my mom, she's very active in my life and stuff. So when it got to the point where I was starting to date, she would tell me, now, obviously she's from a different generation. She would say, okay, now you need to just casually date multiple people. Don't get, very involved, but you're just testing the waters. You're trying to see if you're compatible at all with these different people. But I have to say that never resonated with me. And when I look at my dating history, I only ever dated one person at a time. And it was like, I would go on a date. Let's just say it was a first date. I would go on a date with someone. And then based on that first date, I would be like, okay, do I want to go out on a second date or not? But if the answer was yes, and, we chose to go out on a date again, I wouldn't have a first date with someone else at the same time. I was just focused on, and I would keep doing that. And what that ended up doing for me is it led to, several long-term relationships. Was that good or bad? I don't really know. But for me, it was a mental thing. It's like, I did not have the mental capacity to date multiple people at one time because I was focused. Like I wanted to get to know the person. I wanted to know the person's family. Like for me, I knew I always wanted to get married. So to me, that's why you date. Like I don't know, maybe people have different ideas about dating, but I never understood this concept of binge dating. And throughout my whole dating experience, my mom would say, why are you doing it this way? Why are you doing it this way? I have a funny story to share. So when my mom was dating my dad, so my mom's name is Karen, my dad's name is Denny, okay? At one point, she was dating 3 Dennys at the same time. So my
Go, Mom.
Hey, Mom.
Was she eating at Denny's? That's what I want to know. Because if you dated Denny and went to Denny's, you would be a Denny. You'd be Denny squared.
I think she'd be pretty upset if any of her dates took her to Denny's.
Just asking, because Denny seems to be that theme.
Wink, wink. Okay.
Yeah. So, she could have gone to Denny's. Boom.
So my dad
Probably
calls
did.
my mom. Okay, my dad calls my mom, and she picks up the phone and she's like, "Hi," and he says, "Hi," and she's like, "Well, who's this?" And he goes, "Well, this is Denny." And my mom goes, "Well, are you Denny 1? Are you Denny 2? Or are you Denny 3?
No way.
And my dad goes, "Well, if I'm Denny 3, then perhaps I shouldn't have called."
Oh, yeah.
That's such a good line.
Go,
Yeah,
Dad.
good for him. Yes.
Smart guy. So anyways, that I think that's just kind of a funny story. Obviously, as their child, it makes me laugh to hear those kind of stories. But that just gives you an idea of what it was like for her, perhaps other people at the time. But I want to ask you, ladies, so are you a binge dater? Lindsay, I think I know your answer to this. Are you a binge dater, or are you somebody that just likes to focus on one person at a time? So, Lindsay?
I am going to go first. I am so a one person at a time person. I cannot, like you, Sunny, it's too much mental gyration to try to figure it all out. And I'd prefer to just get to know someone a little bit more deeper, a little more intimately, a little more connected than trying to figure out, oh, who is this person and who's that person and what did they say about what? I could never do that. And to have 3 Dennys, your mom is a professional. I really should learn something from her. Like, whoa, how did she do that? So anyway, no, I'm definitely a serial monogamous, just get to know the right person.
Okay. Betsy, how about you?
Well, again, as just a review, married the wrong guy for 7 years, single sampler.
Yeah.
Went and volunteered. Doug kissed me at midnight on New Year's Eve, and I married him a year and a half later, and now 23 years later. So, I think it was very unhealthy. I mean, to really be honest, because that's what we talk about in the show, real issues. Many of you out there might be going through the same thing. When I had my first marriage and my husband said, "You're too fat for me to love," I might as well tell you. After 7 years of marriage, I was like, okay. But he was very hurtful and mentally caustic. He always tried to find my Achilles heel. And because I was succeeding as an entrepreneur, I was speaking all over the world. I was successful and had tons of friends, and he didn't. So we had to say, "You're fat," and it was super sad. And I think I was so sad after the breakup that it took me a long time with God to really get back in my groove. That was him. All that anger and meanness toward you was really his anger toward himself. And of course, he had a heart failure and had to get a heart transplant because he had no heart. So that's another story. Boy, we have some deep dives out here if we need them. So, but the point being, I think it was a very unhealthy time mentally, but my business was super, super busy, and my career and my life and my leadership in Indianapolis was super busy. So at least I had many, many facets of my life that were working. So I think it was kind of an unhealthy time for dating when I really did have super low self-esteem and made bad choices, in retrospect. But then once I found Doug, he was my soulmate, and he loves me for who I am, what I am in the moment, and always says, "You're so beautiful," and I just love you. And that is such a gift at the end of go through all the crap to be in the wrong. So I think it was not a really good time to comment about dating because it wasn't dating. It was searching, it was experimenting. And now once I found Doug, and it just was it. It was it. Like God told me, I knew in my soul. And, we've collaborated in adopting a one-day-old baby girl who's 21 and coming home today. So many, many things have passed in those 23 years.
That's incredible. Shay, what about you? Are you a binge dater?
Well, Betsy, first of all, I just want to comment on what you said. I'm sorry that you experienced that. Unfortunately, I did as well. And I found out that was his guilt, right? That his guilt allowed him to, because he was doing something that he shouldn't have been doing. And that's why they have to act out, is because they're doing something wrong. So let me break this down in terms of dating today. So there's a phase called talking, and that is normally on the dating apps. You're just getting to know them. You haven't actually met yet. So that first meeting of coffee or drinks or whatever hasn't happened yet. So do I talk to multiple people on a dating app at a time? Yes. Do what I call that binge dating? No. Because to me, I actually am not dating them. I'm still talking to them and getting to know them, because that's what happens. A lot of times people will get to know each other on a dating app before they even decide to meet them in person, right?
Yeah.
So like back in the day when it was like, oh, I'm going to set you up with someone, you might not know anything about that person, and then you meet them and you get to know them. Those days have really gone away. So a lot of times it's getting to know each other. So for me, I wouldn't say I'm a binge dater. I'm a binge getting to know the person. And then I'm a serial relationship person. So for me, I would much rather be in a relationship or be single. So I experimented, quote unquote, with lots of dating apps to fulfill the same thing that Betsy went through, to be able to rebuild my low self-worth, to be able to feel like I was wanted and not discarded. And oh, maybe I am actually a little pretty, and, maybe I am, attractive to somebody.
Know, it's real. Isn't it?
It is. It really is. And yet I was able to do that through just talking with people on the app. And with that being said, I've been single for a very long time because I haven't found anybody to be in a relationship with. I have, the last one was like 2.5 years ago, and it was a short-term relationship, but I go on first dates, and very rarely is there a second. So, but I'm still hopeful. I'm a hopeful romantic, not a hopeless.
There you go. Amen. You're beautiful, Shay.
Awesome,
Well,
Shay.
I think that's a really interesting point. Obviously, technology has changed the game.
Yeah.
And what my mom was able to do, I joke around about like how many people she was dating, but she was keeping things very I don't want to say surface level, because that sounds like shallow. Okay. But she could date multiple people at once and not sleep with them,
Right.
and not maybe a kiss on the cheek at the end of the date. It was a different time period back then. Right. And that is, and so I can see, like, I'm trying to picture myself now. If I had to go back into the dating space again, I would probably feel more comfortable sending messages, emails, whatever you want to call, through a date. I could probably do that. I know the thought of going back to dating is not the highest thing on my list. But if I did, I think I could handle that. I think that there is something when you physically get together with someone in the same space, the energy that's shared and all of that, I think that's more of what I'm talking about. That it's like, that's very demanding and that's very personal. Mm-hmm. I don't think we really think about that. We're like, oh, we just meet. No, there is an energy exchange there.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's what we need to be mindful of, because you can take that energy with you throughout your day. So you need to make sure the people that you are connecting with in person have the same vibration frequency as what you want to be. So we need to take that a little bit more seriously, I think. So
yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. Agreed.
Well said.
Oh,
same with getting a new job too. If anybody's out there looking for a new job, same deal. Definitely you want to match that frequency. Woo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. Awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to toss this over to Shay because she has our R word for the day.
Our word stands for romance. And, it's funny to me because you just mentioned something, Sunny, about your mom, which I love. She did something called courting, something way back when that we don't really talk about anymore. And it's really that getting to know phase before the physical happens. I've been listening to married blogs. I've been in podcasts and books and connections and single people for many, many, many years. And one of the things that I hear about is a romance, how it doesn't just start, with the dating and then end at the marriage. It continues on, right? So romance is something that you can always have even throughout your marriage. And yet, with all the coaching that I've done and through myself and through what I am as a coach, one of the things that I've learned is that it's not about finding the one, it's about becoming the one. And so romance really starts with us. So how can we keep that spark ignited inside of us? And one of my Facebook friends, she just recently posted, which I love this. Her and her husband got married. They were super young. They were, I think, right out of high school, and they've been married for 30 something years now. And they started out in their little studio apartment playing cards by candlelight because they couldn't even really afford electricity. They would shut it off so they could save money. And she said, here we are on our 30 something anniversary playing cards again by candlelight.
Oh,
right. Like
Sweet.
talk about, right, the romance. So you got to really bring that back in. But in order to be romantic with someone else, you have to have that spark ignited within. So the discussion is, what are some creative romantic gestures that you have used to fill you up with love so that it overflows on to your loved one? So Betsy, I'll start with you.
Well, I notice I have to be whole and complete. That's what I really got in my true second marriage, the real one, that, we're both separate, but we can come together and be infinity as two whole people, that I'm not dependent on him for my happiness. I'm not dependent on, but we choose to collaborate on parenting. We choose to collaborate on our home, the Florida home project, so that brings us together. But then I hug and release, because I want to go do art, or I want to play with you guys on podcasts, or I want to travel with Lindsay on a kindness cruise, or, go do a show and sell my art clothing. So I'm not asking permission to be me. And that keeps me sane and whole. So then I can say, great, I of service. So the love languages, I give gifts and I do acts of service as gifts. So you all know I love gifts. So I will wholeheartedly make dinner as an act of love. I will have the laundry done, the house put together and clean, the kid figured out now for the next 4 weeks. I'll do those as acts of service and love, because that makes his life happier, because he's busy doing his work stuff. And then he doesn't have to think. He comes home, he's hungry, he's hangry, and there's beautiful dinner on the table. But I must say, just as a human, I get a little cranky sometimes, like dinner, I kind of not jokingly said, didn't you see in the contract that I'm going to make dinner expired at 20 years? I was only making dinner for the first 20 years. And now the second 20 years, it's got to be a combo. But, all kidding aside, I think the more I have my own life and the freedom to do it and share my passions and hang out with you guys and do my stuff, the better I am serving him wholeheartedly and not being cranky about it. So I think that would be it. My art and my expression through media with you guys is part of my wholeness and makes me filled up to give.
I love that, because you're coming as a whole, like you said, and he's coming as a whole rather than the whole 50-50. You're already doing
or the dependence. I think in my first marriage, I didn't understand. And I had this super narcissistic person that I thought I was helping. All that. No, you're not going to change somebody. Oh my gosh, this guy was a large sucking sound. And if I wasn't paying attention to him, he needed to take me down. Like, how dare you go have a life, And it was like, oh, darn, I didn't get that memo, and so I had to really set some boundaries, which maybe one show we'll do is about boundaries and really how you have to be so strong to move ahead. So
I love that. And it's so true. You have to really be able to be interdependent while you're in the relationship. I love that. Sunny, what about yourself? How do you keep the romance alive within you?
Yeah. Well, so Betsy mentioned The Five Love Languages, which is a book that I think everybody should read. I had to read it as part of my premarital counseling. That and that Venus book. I don't recommend the Venus book.
No.
But The Five Love
Agreed.
Languages is awesome. And it was very important for Ryan, my husband, and I to understand that from the very beginning. Because our love languages are totally different, right? He is an acts of service person all the way. So I know that if I want to get on his good side, the dinner thing is a big thing, emptying the dishwasher, sweeping, doing the household work, all that kind of stuff. But that doesn't fill me up. That is not my love language. And so when I want to kind of psych myself up, if you will, to do those nice things for him. So let's say, he doesn't always do my love language, which is quality time. I love quality time. That's how I understand love, right? Yeah. But thank goodness I have 4 beautiful children that love me to pieces, and many of them will hang out with me and give me kisses all day long. So I'm blessed in that regard. So what I find myself doing is filling up my own love tank with my children. Right?
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
And then I'm like, now I can give love to my husband the way my husband sees love. And then when I do those nice things for my husband, then my husband wants to reciprocate to me. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Is that a family circle going around?
Until they're teenagers. And then we're going to have this conversation again.
Don't ruin it for
girls,
me.
Fill me,
No,
girls.
it doesn't have to be that way. It does not have to be that way.
So, I mean, we'll see, but someone told me, or I don't know if it was a conference, like from our church or something like that I went to a while ago, but we put so much emphasis on what our special someone, our spouse or whoever we're dating, like they have to fulfill me. Because we are read these romance novels of what love is supposed to be. And it's like this one person has to be my everything. Yeah. No, they don't. And do not put that kind of pressure on that other person. That's not fair to that other person. It is okay to get filled up by, loving on your kids and having fun with your friends and things like that. And then you can go to that person and then you can be what that person needs. And I promise if they're a good person, they will reciprocate if they understand what you need. So, ta-da!
Awesome. I love that, Sunny. It's just like we have to remind ourselves that Hollywood is full of lies. Like Jerry Maguire, you complete me. Yeah. No. Right, exactly. There's no such thing. I love that. You got to fill up your love tank first. That's awesome. Yeah. Lindsay, what about yourself?
So I am a true romantic. Like I love romance and the whole excitement that comes with, somebody who's paying attention to you, and doing something directly for you. So I really enjoy that. I would just say that one of the things that I wanted to share with our audience is what the 5 love languages are, because we haven't yet necessarily listed them. So one of them is acts of service, which is doing nice things for others and, doing the laundry or cooking or whatever you want to call it. There's some kind of act of service. Quality time, which is what both Sunny and I both really value, and I'm sure the others do too. But just being in conversation and deep connection at a quality level is very important to me. Words of affirmation. I think all of us, anyone in the world loves to receive words of affirmation that, something you're doing is feeling good to someone else. Physical touch, which is also very fun and very exciting and can be very powerful for some people. And it is a number 1 love language for my previous husband, for sure.
And my husband, for sure.
Yep. Oh, and then receiving gifts. Right. So receiving gifts is all about, and actually it's being a good receiver, by the way, that's also important. So with all of those love languages out there and being associated with different kinds of relationships and whatnot, I have found that for romance, for me, physical touch, and I will call it an act of service, but it's surprises is what's really romantic. So what I discovered is that I was doing that for others when that wasn't necessarily their love language or the one that would feel romantic to them. So it was like, hey, good noticing. This is something that I love. So I'm doing that, but it isn't necessarily what they wanted to receive. So the reason that this conversation about love languages and romance is so important, it's really good to know what the receiver finds romantic. not what you think is romantic.
Exactly.
And so that's kind of a fun game. I like playing that game. It's really fun to try to discover it and to listen carefully for what would feel romantic to a prospective partner or one that you're with for many, many years, because it changes too. You know, sometimes it's just sweet and romantic in a different way. So
Yeah.
I love this topic. Thank you, Shay.
Yeah, well, thank you for going down the rundown of the love languages. In fact, so I will say definitely acts of service, words of affirmation, but that physical touch, that is non-sexual physical touch, like holding hands, right? Like hugs, stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh.
And I will tell you that I just know, and as well as a lot of you guys, but most of our audience, we are healers, natural healers. And to be able to touch someone, you know, that chemistry, that energy that just, it gets exchanged is just, I mean, that's it for me. That's it for me right there. If I feel good holding their hand, then it's a second date.
So quick, funny little story. I think it was like yesterday, my husband and I were going to Costco. If you guys have Costco's, you know, warehouse store stuff. And normally not a real romantic trip, right? It was like we had to go get groceries and stuff. But like we held hands on the way into the store. So it made it it was just a little, and I was like, oh, that's so sweet. And it was just like a little love boost. So it doesn't have to be some long drawn out thing. It can be, and it may be you taking the initiative in the beginning if it's something that your partner like isn't familiar with or whatever. But just a little thing, or like we were watching TV last night and I crossed my leg over his. It was just a little thing. And then he kind of gave me a look and I was like,
love boost.
It's a love boost.
We got a new name. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we hope we have boosted your love. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk more about dating.
Hello and welcome to United Network News. I'm Sunny Galt. Now let's check in with our ground command, Kimberly Gogan, from the Office of the Guardian. And she has her whiteboard. Hi, Kim. Remember, if it's going to be, it's up to me. It's up to all of us to come together. I'm Sunny Galt. Join us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the real news.
And we're back with the A word. Woo, 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 woo. I have the A word today, and my word is answers. And let me tell you how that fits in with dating. So I met a friend, her name is Eve Hogan, and she had a practice marriage. She was living in the US and she went on vacation in Hawaii. It sounds like what a lot of us might want to do. And on this vacation, she met Mr. Wonderful. He had a boat. He was super hot. He seemed to have all this stuff all together. So she had this romantic week with him. And then she got to this place. Like, I live in the mainland. You live in Hawaii. You know, is this worth it? I don't know. It'd be a big life change. You know, can I trust God that this is really what I'm supposed to do? But I'd be blowing up my life. Nah. All the little voices in the head, right? So she chooses, easy for me to say, she chose to come back to the mainland. But what she did ended up being a book. And she wrote this book called Intellectual Foreplay. Mm-hmm. And it was about answers to deep, dark questions. Kind of, Shay, probably that's not as a deep dive in the, you know, talk stage of your modern day apps. But she spent hours on the phone with her now husband, Steve, and they would really pick a topic and really deep and have deep dive into what they really believed about real things, religion and sex and aging and finances and, you know, life adventures and purpose and all these things. And the funny corollary story to this was when I was in Hawaii visiting my friend, I was single and I was living in Texas. My job didn't work out. And I just was praying to God. And I went to Hawaii to serve in the ministry of my friend's church. And we were out in the parks talking to homeless people. I'd never met a homeless person. You know, I mean, it was real. right? And I was praying and praying and praying, dear God, what do I go back to Indiana? What do you want me to do? Texas didn't work out. Here I am. I'm 38. Everything is gone. And I start getting these emails at the time from my friend, Doug Lane, my friend who had seen me recently at a convention. And we started talking about things. And I had made a top 10 list of who I was and said it instead of typing doing good, I typed doing God. Okay. Well, I gave it to Doug, and this was one of our things we talked about, but I'm so glad that very early in, I was like, I work for God. What's your next question? You're going to think I'm weird sometimes, this is how I'm motivated. So anyway, Eve went on to do this, got together with Steve. They wrote this book about intellectual foreplay. They taught couples retreats, but the whole point was not being afraid to ask really important questions in the dating process before you hook yourself to that wagon. And then you wake up on some pivotal issue, right? That really means a lot to you. It's your core values, and you never asked. And then all of a sudden you're like, pardon me, and you're already stuck. You got the kid, you got the house, you got the mortgage, you got the dog. And then what do? So ladies, for your intellectual foreplay, Eve Hogan's name, what would be a key issue that you would talk about to be sure that you were getting the right vibe on the same page of someone that you might want to build a relationship with? And for those of you that are listening that, might not be dating or care about that, because many of us, I think, get to a spot, it's like, whatever, I am whole and complete. I don't need someone. So this might also be good conversations for deep, dark friendships and business relationships, to really get to the core. So I'm going to start with Shay, because you do this a lot. Probably not on the first chat, but if you were getting, more interested in someone, what would be a issue or a question you would want to talk about?
Well, I do kind of in the first, as I'm getting to know someone in a dating app, because it's important to me. So I just recently learned this, how to do this in one of the coaching trainings that I did. It's about values. And so I really ask what relationship values are important to them. And spirituality is one of my top 5, but also fun and, adventure, as well as, creativity and things like that. So, and laughter, having a sense of humor is also important. So for me, it's one of my favorite conversations, and I love this book. I'm going to have to get it now because that's my thing. Like you can be appealing to the eye, but that's going to fade. If you can stimulate my brain, there might be 3rd and 4th dates after that. lucky person. Yes,
awesome.
Yes.
Well, that's good. And you're like in it. When I pray for you, which I pray for all my UnderWired girls, I always hold for you. Just the patience in God's timing for the perfect person, right? Because I look back and there was not anyone on my horizon, and this nerdy production friend from Denver, Doug Lane, who always had on white socks and a big brick phone. Remember the brick phone?
Oh yeah.
Doug used to have a brick phone on his hip and a pager, right? Yep. And he turned out to be my soulmate. It was a surprise. Okay, I'm going to go to Sunny. Sunny, what are the questions maybe you and your husband discussed or your key issues?
So this is why I actually really like the dating apps, which just started to come out right before I met my husband. Before I started dating my husband. I've actually known him for a very long time as well. Because, and Shay, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way it used to be is you could find out on someone's page without really making much contact with them. What some of these key things were. And I thought, this is genius. Like in the beginning, I don't know if you guys remember this, but when the apps first started coming out, which by the way, they were websites in the beginning. They weren't
apps. Yes, exactly. Match and eHarmony. Yep.
With the profile.
Everybody was poo-pooing them. And I'm like, you guys stop poo-pooing. Because, again, romanticizing how you met your spouse, we like to come up with this big story. And I'm like, these sites make a lot of sense because people don't get to the issues fast enough. They jump in bed with them or whatever. And then it becomes about the sex as opposed to, is this really a good fit for me? So I just wanted to say that. I give the apps a lot of credit for getting to brass tacks quickly. So is this compatible or not? Betsy, you mentioned a checklist or like a top 10. I did the exact same thing. when I was like tired of like finding Mr. Wrong and I needed to find Mr. Right, the first thing I did was create a list of what I thought to me at the time was important. And let me tell you what, this was very detailed. I had categories. Everything was assigned points.
Oh, wow.
I love the points.
You made
I just had a list with some typos.
I
so
did.
you are way
Chart.
past me.
I did. And you know, the next person that I dated was my husband. And I was just like, you know, I'm serious about this. I really want this to work. But I have to say, you know, it was kind of unfair because, again, I've known my husband for a very long time. Now, we didn't date, but we actually went to the same high school. So I knew of him. I knew his family already. His dad was the police chief of our hometown. His mom worked at our high school. His sister was like a big softball player. Like, there wasn't a lot that I didn't already know. So it was kind of like cheating because I was like, I kind of know your family already. There's not that much. No, I had to get to know him. But for me, I think what was most important in all of this was the God factor because, you know, after I, you know, this was actually, you know, I made my list and I hadn't found him yet, but it was a God thing that we even connected. And that's a whole story in itself. But basically, I knew right when I saw him or heard of his name or whatever, that I was going to marry him. It was like a one of those, oh, you know, and the angels start singing. So I knew that before we started dating. So then for me, everything was pretty much based on that afterward.
Wow. Well, Doug says that too, that he knew he was going to marry me. But how he showed it was I was waiting in the Miami airport looking beautiful. He was coming off the plane and he took a phone call and walked away. Left me standing there. And I should have known that was an omen how our whole life will be. Phone call. So I digress. Lindsay, what are you, where are you? How are you? What questions would you ask?
You know, I think the number one question in my heart is always about how someone relates to kids. You know, so when I first met my husband and the father of my two children, that was the number one thing on my list because I just so strongly value the role of parent. In fact, if you know, made me queen for the day, I would require people to get a license to be a parent, but that's a whole other digression. But I just think that kids, was a really big deal for me. And the truth is that even though my husband and I ended up being more of a practice marriage, we were not necessarily compatible as life partners. We have been exceptional partners in co-parenting our kids. And we could write a book on it, honestly. And our children keep saying that because we had such strong value around what does it take to raise children, in spite of the fact that you may not be in the same house. And when I think about a lot of kids who have parents all over the world, quite frankly, you know, parents in the military, parents who are movie stars and actors or sports athletes, whatever, and how challenging that can be. And I think that my number one value was around kids. Second, and definitely a close second, because now that I'm in my 50s, it's like number one, my kids are grown, they're happy. I definitely connect with them. But second one, fun. What do you do for fun?
Yes.
I value fun very, very highly. And it would be terrible if we didn't share some of the same things that we enjoy doing for fun. So those are my two. And I definitely have asked a lot of questions around that. And, you know, I keep thinking I will meet Mr. Wonderful doing something fun that I'm already up to. And it could happen. Who knows?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's why I just want to throw in again, if you're listening and you're not listening from the perspective of Mr. or Miss Wonderful,
right,
and you're just looking for lifetime commitments and like-heartedness, these are the same kind of things. Have the conversation. What is fun for you? Because then you glom onto someone who has like a boat club membership, and then you just go with Lindsay on her boat.
Yeah.
And, you know, that causes you to move to Florida. Who knows what God's going to do with fun? I tell you.
Absolutely.
Well, speaking of fun, my gosh, our Outside the Box segment today is super fun. So I'm going to pass it over to Lindsay for Outside the Box.
I get to do Outside the Box today, everybody. And boy, did we have fun doing this one. Because the topic is dating, Betsy and I were thinking about it, and we happened to be together in the desert for 4 days. And yes, we had a lot of fun doing it. And I'll explain that story in just a second. But the whole point of this particular Outside the Box is because we were doing something like-hearted. And we find that people who join us in our lives with a like-hearted sense of how they want to live, what they want to do, how they enjoy life, they end up doing things together, kind of like the four of us on this show. We are very like-hearted, and we have a lot of similarities and we have a lot of differences, but we are connected around inspiration. So I think rather than be a spoiler, I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to the outside the box, and then I'll talk about it when we come back.
Hi, Betsy and Lindsay out in the desert in Goshen, Utah on the set of The Chosen, and we're doing an outside the box segment.
We are, and Betsy, I couldn't be more delighted at being outside the box in Goshen because we are on the set of an absolutely world-renowned experience, and forgetting that it's going to be the creation of a television show, just set that aside. When you and I were talking about this whole episode being about dating and relationships and how to build better relationships, what we really realized is that to find the one, to call in the one that is your partner, your person, your best friend, your best whatever, you have to have like-heartedness. And so that was kind of the theme of our outside the box segment.
And we are just noticing that when you sit down in a room of everyone who loves one thing, this time The Chosen, which is a TV show series about the life of Jesus Christ told through the disciples, thus the gear that we have on very first century. Okay, this is what I look like in The Chosen. No eyeglasses. Okay, I digress. So when you get around like-hearted people, all the conversations are immediately fun and good.
Yes.
Because you already agreed to something called Loving The Chosen. So we've got some great interviews for you today, and we really are excited about this outside the box.
So today we thought we would interview the head of the Come and See Foundation. We have with us Mr. Stan. Jans. Okay, Mr. Stan Jansen. Here he is. Look at him. He's
Hi, everyone.
So handsome and beautiful. So Stan, tell us, what it is like to work with people that are like-hearted, that really enjoy the message of Jesus and what we're up to here at The Chosen.
Well, it's an absolute honor, and there's nothing like it. And of course, around this set of The Chosen, you can't help but be lighthearted and positive. Now, it's work, right? These ladies are extras. You're going to work hard today, be in the sun. But it is really about spreading this magnificent story.
Hey, everybody. We're standing here again at the site of The Chosen, season 4, and I'm here with Jetta Israelson, and she is just amazing. Say hi, Jetta. Hi. And what we've been talking about is what is it doing to be with a group of people who are like-hearted and being all together on this set? How does that change your relationship? Jetta's here with her husband, so tell us what's happening.
We've been growing closer together, doing this together. It's kind of fun to come out here and just be with this whole group, and it's been an enjoyable experience to see the set and to see all the people come out and their amazing costumes and creativity.
It's so fun, isn't it? I think that's just amazing. And I'll tell you what we've been up to here for the last couple of days. It's just literally being extras on the show. And I have met so many people like Jetta here who they've just found more like-hearted individuals who are like each other, and we found our tribe.
Absolutely.
And when you think about being with like-hearted people, Jetta, what is it like in your life when you find your tribe?
It's so exciting. You have to just shout for joy, right?
Yes!
We're outside the box with Micah out here in Goshen, Utah. And Micah, we're just trying to explore relationships with people and meeting new people. And so what brought you out here to the desert to be an extra in The Chosen?
Well, my mom, this was her bucket list item to do. So she did the fundraiser thing, and I, donated the 100% of it just to make sure that she met the goal.
Are you having good conversations?
Oh yeah, of course. Everyone here is of the same mind, and it's once you meet people like that, then it generates avenues towards different kind of why like what you're doing, like how come you came here, why'd you come here, how is the show affecting you? And majority of the people say, well, it's changed my life, and I agree to that, because I feel like every single episode I'm crying, and I'm not one to cry at movies and TV shows, but I can't explain it. It's just like I'm crying every single episode.
I'm just grateful to be a part of this. I think kindness is one of the most important things. In Micah 6:8, God tells us to love kindness, to do mercy, to show justice, but to love kindness. And so I'm grateful for this podcast and what they're doing. So thank you for the opportunity to be be on the show.
Stan, he's magnificent. We love you. And what's really cool is that Betsy and I are here with 600 amazing humans. This is our outside the box. Betsy, what else? Woohoo! It was just so wonderful to be in that space with 600 people.
That's what I look like with no glasses. There you go.
They cared about the chosen. They cared about the message. They cared about each other. They were from all over the world. And what was super fun was just sitting around and talking with them about what brought them there. So that like-hearted connection. And I don't know, I can't speak for Betsy, but I'm going to speak for myself. I know I met at least 3 people that are going to be friends for life because of that experience. And we all went through it together. And then, of course, I got to be there with Betsy. So that was even more like exciting and experiential for our own development of our relationship. So it's just really cool. And I think like-heartedness is the thing. My question to you ladies, just really quick, is what do you hope to find some like-heartedness around in your relationship? I'm going to pitch it over to Sunny. What would you like to be a little more like-hearted with your husband about?
Wait, I'm still thinking.
She got to skip.
What would I like? Well, okay, so finances. That's the first thing that comes. I'm just going to say that's top of mind. Because finances can get very tense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can have disagreements about which way to go with finances. And that's something that I think my husband and I have always struggled with, because I understand it takes money to do things, but I can't live my life according to money. That doesn't work. It's never worked for me. Right. But my husband is the main provider for our family at this time. And so he is always focused on finances. And sometimes I'm just like, would you, we've had these conversations recently because he's at that age where he's about ready to retire. Because he's a police officer, he can retire much younger than other people. Okay. And so we've had these conversations. I said, well, what do you want to do with your life, like after you retire, because his work is so, it's so involved right now. Right. I'm like, well, if that's gone, what are you going to do? And it's like, he turns blank, because he's been so focused about money, making money, blah, 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 his whole life, and being the main provider for our family. It's like he doesn't know what to do beyond that. So I'm looking forward to a time, and I know this is where our whole planet and everything is going, where it is not focused on money, that we are moving into a period of abundance. And yes, we will use money to accomplish certain things, but it is about your joy and your passion and your love for what you're doing, as opposed to how much money can I bring in and how can that benefit my family? Yep. Things are just going to be taken care of. If you're doing good in this world, you're going to be fine. And so I just wish everything now was a little bit more lighthearted with money.
Yeah, I love that. Betsy, how about you? What would you like to
2 words after being through that? Big God. Just the closer we come to God, and everything works out. I give my time to Shay.
Okay.
Well, my question is Micah single? I mean, did you find that?
He is. And Matt is not. Lindsay drooled on Matt the whole weekend.
He's not single.
And he is not. He had his wedding ring on. And she just was like, Matt, does he have a brother?
Right.
I always ask that question.
I love this because I think lightheartedness to me just means, fun and laughter and being able to communicate in a way that isn't so heavy, right? So just to make it lighter and lighten the mood and be able to get each other out of that seriousness, like we get into, especially with our careers, like Sunny's husband, we get stuck in that, I got to focus. So whatever you can do to just, lighten the mood is always fun.
I love that. Yeah. I think it's really special when we can find that special someone who is like-hearted and who wants to play in the same way that we do. And with that, I know we are ready for a commercial break, but we will come back shortly and we'll be doing our wow segment. So stay tuned.
This is Real Talk. We discuss important issues impacting our world and how we as humanity can come together, overcome our obstacles, and move forward towards a bright and beautiful future.
Welcome back. We are still talking about dating, and as you can tell, we are having so much fun. And I have the distinct pleasure of having the wow woman of wonder. And I also had the honor of interviewing her on Real Talk. It is Catherine Woodward Thomas. She is a marriage and family therapist, and she is the best-selling author of Calling in the One, 7 Weeks to Attract Your Love of Your Life. And she shares with us her 3 most important tips about calling in the one. Well, welcome, Catherine Woodward Thomas, to UnderWired Live. And I am just, gosh, I'm so excited that you're going to be sharing your wisdom with us on this particular, on the Woman of Wonder, because you are an amazing woman doing amazing things in the world. And you are an example of calling in the one, which is also the name of your book and the amazing work that you do. So would you please share with us 3 top important things that you want to share with the world about calling in the one, since we're talking about dating on this UnderWired episode?
Great. Well, thank you. First of all, I'm so honored to be part of UnderWired. I feel like I found my tribe with my UnderWired brand.
Yes.
Great. Okay, calling in the one. So calling in the one is about magic.
Mm.
It's about the magic to dream of a future unlike any other experience you've had, and be able to take a stand for that future, no matter how much garbage you've had in your past, how many breakdowns in love, how many times you've been disappointed or hurt, how much garbage you're carrying from your past and your childhood, what the patterns in your lineage are. We start with the miracle future. We start with saying, you know what? I yearn for love, and I'm going to take a stand for happy, healthy love. And you might even put it in time, like by my birthday, or, by Christmas, by New Year's Eve, I'm going to have my person with me, and we're going to go out and have a great date. Why do we do that? Because when you begin to lean in to that positive, possible future, it begins to inform how you show up now. And so if it's in the realm of like, one day I'll have that, you can still kind of stick with your old habits of hiding or minimizing or going out with people you know are not really right for you. But when you say, this shall be so, you're not just praying for it or wishing for it. You're actually saying, I'm going to be accountable for being the person I would need to be in order for that miracle to manifest. And then the game becomes not running out to go and find it, but the game becomes really about becoming that version of yourself. So that's number one.
Well, let me just say, I love that, because, and you mentioned birthday. So in a month, it'll be my birthday. So I'm calling him in now that he is going to show up in the next month. Yes, I love this. Keep going. I know you got so much more.
The second one is the most important thing is, everybody wants to know, okay, what do I do? And the most important question is really, who are you being?
Yes. Amen. Right? Yes.
Because a lot of the wounds that we've suffered in the past have kind of been internalized, like I'm somehow not good enough. I'm too this, I'm not enough that, I'm too old, I'm too big, I'm too small, I'm too whatever. I've got this baggage, I've got debt, I've got a kid who's autistic, like who's going to want me? We all have those conversations going on. So you really want to connect with the part of yourself that knows that you are worthy of the love that you long for. And you want to be in relationship with your desire. Like, if I yearn for this, then it must be that this is life's plan for me. Just going to know that if life says yes to me for this, then I'm going to say yes to me. There's a part of all of us who knows that we do just possess value because we're breathing, because we're here, and that there's a way that we want to start to identify with that part of ourselves and start to lead from that part of ourselves, the part of us that respects ourselves, that knows that we are worthy of love, that we are valuable, that we're powerful enough to learn from our lessons and generate new kinds of dynamics between ourselves and the one that we're looking for. And then the third one is, a lot of us, I am a psychotherapist, so I get to say this, because a lot of us, when we're looking to solve our problems in love, we look backwards. What happened to me when I was a child? Very good work to connect the dots between what happened then and how things are showing up now. But it's not just the analysis or insight of why you are the way that you are that matters. What really matters is how will I need to grow myself now in order to be ready for that person? That person appears. So it's not just the label of, oh, I'm love avoidant or oh, I'm love insecure. Like what needs to be developed now, in terms of learning how to self-soothe when you get angry, or learning how to hold your value in the face of being devalued, or learning how to communicate your feelings and your needs, negotiate your needs, work through conflict, all the things that, people who are in happy, healthy love know how to do that many of us just never learned when we were growing up. So you want to really take on this growth mindset, this developmental mindset, study happy, healthy love, read the books for couples, and read what experts are telling you about how to create happy, healthy love, and be ready for love when love appears.
I love, love, love this, especially as a single person. I love the when you yearn it, it is life's way of showing that it is on its way. I love that you said that. And then about really becoming the one, right? Doing all the work, doing all the healing, reading, learning all the lessons that you need to learn. And just such sage wisdom. So thank you so much for being here. We love so Catherine Woodward Thomas. So thank you so much for being here on UnderWired Live. Don't you just love her? I mean,
she's awesome.
She is amazing. And I love that she broke it down. I mean, she's got so much wisdom in what she does and the books that she has. And she has a podcast too. She's just incredible. But, I know that we're running out of time, and I know that you guys we have so much to talk about. I mean, we could make this show at 2 hours, but Lindsay, because you are also the single one on the panel, what was your biggest takeaway?
I think what I really enjoyed about Catherine Woodward, I've actually met her through Mind Valley, and she's an amazing person just to meet also, right? But I liked what she had to say about being ready for love. And I think that there is always that sense that if we're ready, it will show up, right? And so I thoroughly believe in that, and I love how she explained that. So thank you for asking, Shay.
Yeah, well, I think, it goes back to that, what we talked about in the beginning. It's about becoming the one rather than calling in the one. And I think you and I have talked before, like, someone else is calling us in as we're their one, right? Yeah, that's what I want. That's the key.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Shay, can I just say you have the most sexy, sultry voice.
You
do use that on your dates because
this is Shay.
I love it.
It is. It's beautiful.
It is. You got it, girl. You got it going on.
It's hot in here.
It's getting hot in here. Okay.
Well, maybe that's why I'm a podcaster, right? Fall in love with my voice first. There you go. I love it. And we're getting to the end. So what do we have? We have to connect with us on, what is it? Telegram. So Lindsay, take it away.
Actually, I think I'm passing it over to Sunny for a little bit of mailbag, or did we decide that we're not going to?
I think we're skipping that. We're skipping that because we're not doing
mailbag today. Well, all right, friends, we are skipping that, and I'll talk about Telegram, and we would love to have you join us live every Monday. And our Telegram is at UnderWired Live. So please come and check us out. We love interacting with you and joining in the conversation with you. And if you join us and you give us some good things to think about, we are going to reward you with a kindness coin. And I think what's really fun is that UnderWired, really, the whole tribe of us, including all the people behind the scenes, we all really believe in kindness and spreading more kindness in the world and inspiring others to be more kind. So join us on Telegram, join us for our Monday nights, and just be part of the goodness that is uplifting and supporting people all over the world with kindness and love and joy in your hearts. We are like-hearted with you, and we thank you for being here with us on UnderWired. And we'll see you next week.
See you live Monday night. See you again. Thank you.
I just wanna love you.